all. Okay. Let me start that again, okay? Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Yes. Okay. So, good morning to the children and teachers from Cornell Junior Public School and to all tuning in from the live stream. You're very excited to welcome to the Cedarbrae Public Library. I like to brag about my library, okay? For a special collaboration between the Toronto Public Library, which is us, the Canadian Space Agency, and Library and Archives Canada. A few housekeeping items before we begin for those of us in the branch here. The exit sign is to the left. Exit is to the left. And there is also an exit as soon as you exit from this door. And the washrooms are to the right once you go out of the door. Now let us start today's program with a land acknowledgement statement. Cedarbrae is on Indigenous land. This is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, also known as the Six Nations Confederacy, the Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Toronto Public Library gratefully acknowledges these Indigenous nations for their guardianship of this land. We'd also like to remind and reaffirm as Torontonians and Canadians our accountability to these Indigenous nations and to all Indigenous people and communities living in Toronto. Again, good morning to all who are able to join us. As you'll know, we are joined this day by two very special guests to celebrate the launch of an exciting new ebook by the Canadian Space Agency, or CSA as it's called for short, The Explorers Club to the Moon. This book was written to celebrate CSA astronaut Jeremy Hansen upcoming space mission Artemis II. Jeremy will make history early next year as the first Canadian to go on a mission around the moon. Artemis II will be the first lunar mission with humans on board since the Apollo missions over 50 years ago. None of you have been born back then. Our other special guest is Jasmine Bro, who is a Toronto-based actress here to help share the Explorers Club with you. We are glad to have both of them, and let's give a big round of applause to all of us.
All right, good morning. So I just want to share a bit with you about the Artemis mission. So do we need to switch the shows here? All right. So how many of you would like to fly in space one day? Wow, amazing. Well, if you wanted to come with us, my crew, on this journey, you would need a rocket like this. So this is the Artemis rocket. Ours is being built right now. It's almost ready. And next year, we're going to head out to the launch pad. This is my crew. So you've got Reed, Christina, Victor, and I. So 3 Americans and myself, 1 Canadian. We're going to board that rocket. And when it's ready to go, we'll be strapped in inside like this in our capsule and our seats and our spacesuits. And then this is what's going to happen next. Okay, how many of you still want to go to space? Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? So once the rocket drops us off in space, we'll just be inside our capsule, and we're going to fly around the Earth once to check out our systems, because before we go all the way to the moon, we want to make sure we have things like, what do we need to breathe inside a spaceship? Yeah. Oxygen. Of course we need oxygen. And what do we breathe out? Do you know when we breathe out, what do we breathe out? Yeah, carbon dioxide. So we need to be able to remove the carbon dioxide from the air. On Earth, the plants and the trees do it, but in the spaceship, we don't have any of those. So we have to have a special system that does it for us. So we want to check out all of those systems so that we can survive. And then once we do that, we're going to accelerate really fast, fly all the way around the moon, and come back and land in the Pacific Ocean. And on our way on that journey, we're going to see some incredible things. We're going to see the moon up close. And we'll get back and we'll be rescued by the Navy. They'll pick us up out of our capsule after we land in the ocean. And this is us practicing it. We've already gone out with a pretend capsule, and we practice everything we are going to do so that we know exactly how to do it. And we have a successful mission. So it's pretty incredible to think about going back to the moon. Of course, humans have already been to the moon. We did it over 50 years ago, but now we want to build a transportation infrastructure. So we want to build spaceships and space stations to stay on the moon, and for people like you to go to the moon in the future. So how does a country like Canada get to a position where we can send a human out to the moon? Well, it's similar to you and I as humans. When I was a young Canadian, I saw an image like this, and I thought, wow, that's an extraordinary thing. People went to the moon and came back. And so I started to talk to people about, hey, I think I'm interested in space. I think I would like to be a space explorer. Just like when I asked you all earlier, who would like to go to space? A bunch of you raised your hand. I started to tell people that I'm interested in space as well. And then they started to help me and take me to places and learn more about space. And that's what we do in our lives. We decide where we want to go. We share those ideas with other people. So you have to have the courage to tell people what you would like to do. And then you're going to find out people are going to help you achieve it. And that's how a country like Canada became involved in space. Somebody had an idea that we're going to need robot arms in space. Canada was the first country in the world to develop a robotic arm for space. We built one for the space shuttle. It was a different vehicle. And then we built this one called Canadarm2 for the International Space Station. And that technology has allowed us to have humans living in space every single day on board the space station for 25 years. So that's really something that's new for humans. Only the last 25 years have we had people living in space consistently every day. And that's what we're doing out by the moon. We want to build a new space station called the Gateway. And guess what's on it? What do you see there? Yeah, a robotic arm, and that's Canadarm3. And so every time we take on a new challenge, we have to build new solutions. And this arm is special. It's built to work in deep space, out by the moon, really far away. And so Canada's working on that right now. We're also working on lunar rovers to help us explore the surface of the moon and learn more about things like ice on the moon. And that's how space works. It brings people together. These big challenges bring us together. And you see on my uniform here, I'm wearing this patch. You see that? Well, this patch was a gift from some people who wanted to help us on the space mission. And this was created by an Anishinaabe artist, somebody that I met through the Turtle Lodge. And they were helping me to prepare for my journey, to do some of the mental preparation to go on this big journey to the moon. And one of the things that the gentleman Sabe said to me is, maybe we could use your mission to teach people a little bit about some of the beauty and truths that are held within Indigenous and traditional knowledge. And so he decided that we should put these animals in the patch that represent the 7 sacred laws. All right, so what animal is this? A buffalo. The buffalo represents respect. What about the eagle? Love represents love. What's this? The bear represents courage. This one you've probably never seen before. Unless you have, let me know. This is a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot or a Sabe. And the Sabe represents honesty. And here is the This is a beaver. Yeah, the beaver represents wisdom, and a wolf. And the wolf represents humility. And what's this? And the turtle represents truth. And so these are the 7 sacred laws, and they are things that you and I can think about how we should live our lives. And I wanted to share with you, each one of these animals has a teaching. And you can go on the Canadian Space Agency website and you can learn more about this. But I want to teach you or share the teaching of the beaver. So I think it's a really important lesson for all of us in how we live our lives. So the teaching of the beaver is that the beaver has a special gift. What's the beaver's special gift? What can a beaver do that you and I can't do? Yeah, you want me to come back? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they can chew down trees, right? Have any of you ever chewed down a big tree? I do not recommend you try it because your teeth aren't strong enough to chew down a tree, but a beaver has a special gift to chew down trees. But what's special is that the beaver also has the wisdom to know how to use its gift to help others. The beaver chews down trees and it builds dams, and it harnesses the power of water to change the environment. And when it changes the environment, it actually helps other creatures share their gifts. And so the teaching of the beaver is that in each and every one of us, in each and every one of you, is a special gift. And your purpose in life is to use your gifts to help others in living a better life as well. Do you think that's true? Do you think you each have gifts? I think that's true. And would you like to use your gifts to help others? Yeah. And that'll bring meaning in your life. And this is just one more example about how we had this space mission. We were going to the moon, and then people showed up and they're like, hey, we can use this to help people live better lives in other ways as well, which is a really beautiful thing. And we're going to fly around the moon, and when we come around the far side of the moon, we're going to see this out our window. We're going to see Earth. We're going to see all of you. We're going to take pictures and videos, and we're going to send them back to you. And while we're out there, we hope you'll follow our mission. And I hope that you'll be reminded, as will others, that humans, all of us living on this planet Earth together, can do extraordinary things when we set positive goals, we create together, we share all our gifts, and we create a better life for ourselves on the planet. So that's the mission. I want to introduce you to a new friend I just met, Jasmine. Jasmine, if you'll come up. So as was mentioned earlier, Jasmine is an actress. And the Canadian Space Agency has been working on this book. We have this great story to share with you. Jasmine's going to help lead us through it. But one of the things I wanted to tell you about for me is about my treehouse. So when I was young, I told you I was interested in space and I wanted to go to space, but I didn't know how to get there. So I turned my treehouse into a spaceship. And I created like dials out of cardboard with popsicle sticks for like the arms on the dials. I had a control column made out of wood that I could move around. I found some switches in our barn on the farm, and I mounted them in there so I could turn on the switches for my rocket. And I used to explore space in my imagination. And so maybe Jasmine can share a little bit about what that could be like.
Okay, this is the Explorers Club to the moon. It was a quiet night. In their treehouse, the Explorers Club, Nico, Layla, Matthias, Gemma, and their dog, Chewy, sat together, planning a big adventure. They had a hand-drawn map to the moon. I know, Gemma said. Let's build a moon base. She pointed at the map. Yes, we need a place to grow space tomatoes, Nico said. And a spot for our rocket to land, Matthias said. The kids talked and talked. Soon, they started yawning. One by one, they fell asleep. But not Chewy. The little dog was still awake. Chewy sniffed around the treehouse. He found a big, shiny red button on the floor. He pawed at it, then click! The treehouse began to shake. The kids jumped up. What's happening? Nico said. The treehouse was turning into a rocket. Lights flashed, gears clicked. Chewy, what did you do? Layla cried. The rocket ship shot into the sky. The kids peeked out the window. Wow, Layla said. Stars were everywhere, and Earth grew smaller and smaller below them. Suddenly, they saw another spaceship. It zoomed past them. Inside, an astronaut waved.
Hi, Explorers Club. I turned my treehouse into a rocket too when I was a kid, and it helped me reach for the stars. Keep going. You can do it.
Look, that's Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen, Matthias said. His eyes lit up. We're really going to the moon. The kids cheered. To the moon, we're going. The rocket landed on the moon. Dust flew everywhere. We're here, Nico said. The kids put on their spacesuits. They jumped out of the rocket, their boots leaving maple leaf marks in the dust. Chewie ran after them, barking. Wow, Layla said. The moon was huge and quiet. Big craters stretched far away, sparkling in the sunlight. Suddenly, Chewie saw something. It was a small rover with a wiggly antenna. Arf, arf, Chewie said. Beep, beep, the rover answered. Hey, Chewie made a new friend, Gemma laughed. The rover beeped again and led them to some shiny moon rocks. Matthias found one shaped like a star. Gemma found one with little holes in it. After a while, the kids got thirsty. I need water, Layla said. Chewie and the rover worked together. They found ice chunks under the dust. The kids brought them back to the rocket. Nico used one of his inventions to melt the ice. Moon water, Gemma said. It tastes like water, and laughed. But as they melted the ice, one chunk didn't melt. Instead, it glowed with a soft blue light. Matthias picked it up and held it carefully. This isn't just ice, he said. It's a meteorite, and it's beautiful. The kids stared at it, their eyes wide with wonder. The kids carefully placed the glowing blue meteorite into the rocket's power chamber. Click! As soon as it snapped into place, the rocket hummed with energy. Lights blinked all around them. We are going, they all shouted. The rocket lifted into the sky, leaving the moon behind. Chewie barked, looking out the window at the rover. The rover wagged its antenna. Chewie wagged his tail. It was a happy goodbye to a new friend. But soon, the rocket started to change direction, and they didn't know where they were going anymore. Outside, they saw a colorful planet. It had swirls of purple and green and blue chords. It didn't look like anything they'd ever seen. Where are we? Layla whispered. Her eyes were wide. The kids looked at each other. They felt excited, but also a little scared. Nico stared at the control panel, trying to figure out what was happening. We'll be okay, Matthias said. We've got each other. The others nodded. Together, they were ready for whatever came next. The kids looked out at the planet. The swirls of purple, green, and blue were beautiful, but they didn't know where they were. Layla sighed. How do we get back home? She asked. Chewie started barking. Ruff, 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 ruff. He wagged his tail as he had held something in his mouth. It was the radio. Matthias grabbed the radio. This can help us, he said. He turned the dials, and soon the radio crackled. A warm voice came through.
Hello, Explorers Club. This is Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jenny Gibbons from Mission Control. Jeremy told me about your mission. I can see that you're lost, and I'll help guide you back to Earth.
The kids cheered. They listened closely as Jenny gave them directions. She told them about safe paths through space that would lead them back to Earth. Nico and Layla worked at the control panel, following her every instruction.
You're doing great, Explorers Club. Keep going, and you'll be home soon.
Layla smiled at her friends. We've got this, she said. They all nodded, ready to get back home. The rocket raced towards Earth. The kids watched as it grew bigger and bigger in the window. Suddenly, the rocket started to shake. We're going too fast, Layla said. Deploy the parachute. Nico grabbed the controls and hit the button. A giant rainbow parachute popped out from the rocket's back. It slowed them down, but the rocket still shook hard. The kids held on to each other. "We've got this," Matthias whispered, closing his eyes. The rocket began to calm. Slowly, it drifted toward the ground, guided by the parachute. The kids took deep breaths as they felt the rocket land safely. When they opened their eyes, they were back in their treehouse, snuggled in their sleeping bags. The rocket was gone. Everything was quiet, as if nothing had happened. But they knew their adventure was real. "Look," Gemma said, pointing at the small TV in the corner of the treehouse. On the screen, they saw Jeremy Hansen. He had splashed down into the ocean and climbed out of his capsule, smiling and waving. "He made it back too," Nico said with a grin. The kids looked at each other, their hearts still racing from their adventure. On the small treehouse TV, Jeremy Hansen smiled as he spoke to the world.
To all the explorers out there, never stop dreaming. Take small steps every day to make the world a better place. Your dreams can come true.
Jeremy's words stayed in their minds. They looked out the treehouse window at the night sky. The moon shone brightly, lighting up the room. Chewie barked happily as he understood every word. Ruff, ruff, ruff. The kids laughed, their eyes full of excitement. Layla grinned at her friends. "Let's keep dreaming, Explorers Club," she said. Chewie wagged his tail, and the kids all smiled. Together, they looked up at the stars, ready to imagine their next adventure. The end.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Thank you, Jeremy. Did you like the story? Yes, and I hope that people watching online appreciate the story as well. It's now available to read again tonight with your family, with your friends, in classes, on the Canadian Space Agency website. The story will be available in both French and English. And now we'll be taking questions that Jeremy will answer, and we'll start with questions that were gathered in advance with students assembled at the Library and Archives Canada in Ottawa. So, Jeremy, the first question for you will be from Miss McGuire's school, Miss McGuire class. What was the most difficult part of your training for this mission?
All right, most difficult part of the training. Well, we have to train for a bunch of emergency situations. So like when things are not going right. So let's say we hit something in space and we get a hole in our spaceship. Stuff is going to leak out. What's going to leak out of our spaceship? We were talking about it earlier. Yeah, the gas. So the air we're breathing is going to leak out into space. So we have these special spacesuits that we can put on inside the spacecraft to keep us safe. So we have to do all this training to try and get into the spacesuits quickly and save ourselves. That's probably one of the most challenging things. How about I take a question from in here? Do any of you have a, ooh, you were fast. Do you have a question? Say it loud. Oh, that's okay. If you remember, you can go now. If not, I'll come back to you, okay? Okay, you think of your question. Okay, yep. What is the moon made of? Oh, it's a good question. It's kind of a fun one. So we're still learning about what the moon is made of for sure, but what we think the moon is made of is mostly Earth. So what we think happened is the Earth formed in our solar system a long time ago, or over 4 billion years ago, and we think there was some other big object, like the size of another planet, a small planet, and we think it hit Earth in the early days, and it broke off a big chunk of Earth and sent it flying in a bunch of pieces around the Earth. And slowly over time, those pieces got together and formed the moon. And that's why we have that one moon around planet Earth. But that's one of the reasons we want to go back. We want to make sure that that's true, and we can collect some new samples in a different way, and we'll be able to confirm that that's a true story. All right, do you remember your question? What are the holes inside the moon? Yeah. So what are the holes that we see on the moon? Well, does anyone know? What do we call them? Yeah, so asteroids out in space, they hit the moon and they make craters. And that's why we see all these holes on the moon. And you see when these asteroids hit the moon, some of them are so big they sent stuff flying most of the way across the moon. And you can see, if you look with a telescope or even binoculars, you can see from some of the craters are like lines stretching across the moon. We call them rays of ejecta, and those came from inside the crater. All right, let's go to another question.
Yes. So we'll go to another question from Miss McGuire. Class again. What kinds of feeling do you have about takeoff, Jeremy? Are you more excited? Are you more nervous?
All right, so we saw the rocket blast off, and it's going to be pretty intense in the rocket. It's going to be shaking in there. It's going to be making strange sounds. Nobody has ever flown on this rocket before. So there's nobody that I can ask to say, what is it going to feel like? And what is it going to sound like? And so that'll be, I think, a pretty exciting ride. Do any of you like roller coasters? Yeah, okay, lots of you do. I like roller coasters too. So I'm just going to try and enjoy the ride. There'll be some questions in my head probably of like, is that normal? But I think I'll have a big smile on my face. It's going to be fun to fly that rocket to space. All right, how about we go over here somewhere? How about, yes, you. Oh, have I ever been to space before? No, this is my first mission to space. So you can imagine, I'm pretty excited right now. I'm going to get to experience some really neat things. When you get to space, we end up in this environment we call microgravity, where we're floating around. So once we get to space, we'll take off our space suits. We'll just be in normal clothes. We'll actually take the seats apart in the capsule because we don't need them while we're in space. And we'll just be floating around. And I think it's going to be a really cool experience. All right, so I actually meant the girl in the red, so let's give you a shot. Yeah. Why did I want to become an astronaut? It's a really good question. You know, I was just inspired by space. Like when I saw those pictures of people on the moon, I thought that's really neat. And I kind of just felt like that would be fun and exciting. And I don't really know why, other than I was drawn to it. I was excited about it. I wanted to learn more. And so it's really great in life. Remember the teaching of the beaver? It's about your gifts, right? And it's when you are using your gifts, your talents, you kind of feel it inside of you. You kind of feel like, I'm on the right track. I'm doing something positive. And that just kind of led me all the way here. All right, I'm going to go all the way to the very, very, very back against the wall. Yeah. How long have I been dreaming to be an astronaut? Well, I don't exactly remember, but my mom tells me I was 5 when I changed my treehouse into a spaceship. And that picture I showed you of me as a kid behind that, with a spacesuit cutout, I think I was 6 when that picture was taken. Okay. So how many days do we spend on the trip? So we spend 1 day flying around Earth, checking the systems out. And once we decide they're good, then we take 4 days to go to the moon and 4 days to come home. And so overall, it's about 9.5 day mission. Yeah. How do I feel about being one of the few to go to the moon? Well, as my good friend Victor is one of my crewmates. You saw him in the picture at the beginning. Like he often says is what's important is not about being the first, it's to ensure you're not the last. And that's kind of how I feel about it too. What I'm excited about is I get to go do this great adventure, get to work with a huge team of people. You can imagine how many people it takes to build a rocket and fly it from mission control. We've got all sorts of different jobs that help us in the space program. But what's also exciting is to think about what's next. Artemis II, our job is to test the capsule. Artemis III's crew, the Artemis III crew, their job is to land on the moon. And who knows what Artemis mission some of you might be on, but it could be an Artemis mission to the space station around the moon, or it could be an Artemis mission to Mars. And so that's what's going to happen in the future. And that's pretty exciting to think about.
We'll go with another questions from students gathered in Ottawa. So, Jeremy, what happens if you catch a cold or get sick in space?
Okay, so we do not want to get sick in space. We try really hard not to. So we do something called quarantine. So 2 weeks before launch, we quarantine ourselves. We segregate ourselves. We don't go out to the grocery store. We don't go out in public, and we just stay inside or outside, away from people, and to try and protect ourselves from getting sick. But if we happen to get sick in space, well, there's not much we could do. We just have to deal with it. So it would probably be a little bit miserable, a little bit tough. Hopefully we wouldn't all get sick, but we would just have to do it, just like you do here on Earth when you get sick. You just got to work your way through it. But hopefully we'll have a good quarantine and nobody will be sick in space. All right. Okay. What did I study to become an astronaut? I studied in university. I studied something called space science, it was about, it had a bunch of electrical engineering for building spacecraft. It had orbital mechanics in it, had some mechanical engineering, had physics, a lot of physics, about learning about space and radiation, etc. And so I was just really interested in space, so that's why I picked that one. But what's important is that not what you study specifically, is that you study something that you're interested in. That helps a lot. So you're all really young and you maybe don't know yet, but as you go through school, you're going to try different subjects. Some of them are going to be more exciting for you than others, and those are the ones you might want to do in university. Yeah, right there. Can you say it again? Oh, what made me want to go to space? I really like this idea of tackling big problems as a team. So when you think about it, have any of you seen movies where you see people in mission control and they're helping to fly the rocket? Who was it that we heard on the radio that was helping the Explorers Club? Anyone remember her name? Jenny. Yeah, it's Jenny Gibbons. Good memory. So Jenny is a Canadian astronaut, and she's my backup for the mission. And so if I can't go on the mission for some reason, Jenny is fully trained too, and she'll go in my place. And if she doesn't go on this mission, she'll go on one of our future missions to space. But she's part of our team on the ground. And I just really think it's cool that all these people come together to accomplish these big things. So I'll give you an example of why I think space exploration is important. And maybe it answers your question a little bit. But we have this big country here, Canada, and we have people living all over this country, and we're getting this better technology, and we're thinking about how are we going to feed everybody in the future. There's more and more people on the planet, and we talk a lot about making sure everybody has food. Well, someday we want to grow food on Mars, but we could learn to grow it here in the Arctic first, and then take those solutions to space and grow food on the moon and grow food on Mars. And so space kind of gives us this focus to solve problems that affect us both here but also in space. Go ahead. Would I be able to go on Artemis 3? No, I won't, because my mission is Artemis 2. It'll be a different crew for Artemis 3. And right now, we won't have a Canadian on Artemis 3, but we can have a Canadian on a future Artemis mission. And also, it's Jenny's turn to fly next. So we have 4 astronauts in Canada. One is already flown. His name is David. He went to the space station for 6 months. Then I'm flying now. Josh is on a mission to the space station coming up pretty soon. And then we're going to fly Jenny in space. All right. Whoa, that looks important. Okay. Okay, so how do you eat in space when everything's floating around? Well, we take special food that's prepackaged, and a lot of it is what we call dehydrated. It's had all the water taken out of it. And we just add water, and we let it rehydrate, and it's in a pouch. And then we cut off the end of the pouch, and we have a spoon, and we dig it out of the pouch, and we eat it. It's not more complicated than that. Did you want to go to Ottawa?
Yeah, we'll go with another question from Ottawa. So, Jeremy, what does it feel like when you exit the Earth's atmosphere and when you come back in?
So when we're on that rocket, when we're riding through the atmosphere, it'll feel pretty bumpy. And then once we get out of the atmosphere, it'll start to smooth out. But we'll be accelerating very fast. So it'll be like pushing us. We'll feel the gravity forces pushing us into our seat. So we won't be able to tell that we're in space yet, because we'll feel like you're on like a roller coaster, or you're on that ride at the fair that spins you around and you're on the outside glued to the wall. That's what it'll kind of feel like for us. And then as soon as the rocket engine's cut off, we'll just start floating. And that's what it'll feel like in space. Then we'll go do our whole mission. We'll be floating the whole time. But when we come back to Earth, we'll be going really fast, 39 times the speed of sound, super fast. And we're going to hit the Earth's atmosphere. We're going to start to hit the air of the Earth, and it's going to start to make a fireball outside the capsule. It's called plasma when you hit the air that fast. And it'll look like we're like a shining or shooting star flying through the atmosphere. But for us inside, it's going to be slowing us down. So we're going to start to feel those G-forces pushing us into our seat again. And then we'll come down, and then all of a sudden the parachutes will start coming out. These little parachutes and then bigger parachutes. And when that happens, the capsule's going to do some crazy stuff. It's going to start swinging around under the parachutes. It'll be a really jerky ride. And then we'll hit the ocean, splash, and it'll all be over. All right. Gosh, so many questions. I think, yeah, this young lady, we haven't heard. Yep. Yeah, what do we eat in space? Yeah, what's in those magic food bags? It's a really diverse diet. We have a lot of options, but we've got like vegetables and soups and stews and curry. We've got smoked salmon. We have mac and cheese. We just got a lot of different options. And we get to tell there's these experts. They're kind of like your mom who decides what you eat. There's these experts, and they decide that you're going to eat healthy food. And so we tell them what we like and what we don't like, and then they just tell us what we're going to eat. Yeah, how did I get chosen to go to space? So I joined the Air Cadet program because I knew I wanted to become an astronaut, and I was interested in flying. So that helped me a lot. Air Cadets taught me gave me confidence, leadership, taught me to fly. Then that led me to join the Royal Canadian Air Force, and I became a fighter pilot in the Royal Canadian Air Force. And then at some point, the Canadian Space Agency just put an announcement out that they were looking for applicants for astronaut, and I just applied. And I was, you have to be ready. You have to have the right skill sets. You have to have gone to university, finish your degree. You need some work experience. But then I just applied, and then I got lucky enough to be selected by the Canadian Space Agency. That's kind of how life works. You never really know what's going to happen, but what you have to be able to do is just keep taking steps towards your goals. And there's one other important thing that you got to understand is while you're on your way to get to your goals, there's always something that happens. There's always a challenge. I don't know why, but that's just how life works. There's always going to be a point on your way to your goal where you're like, I'm never going to make it. I guarantee it. You're going to think that one day. And if you have told other people where you want to go, guess what those other people are going to say to you? They're going to say, you can do it. And they're going to help you. And that's the kind of person you want to be for others too. You want to help others around you achieve their goals. And that's what happened to me as I was going up. I had lots of times where I'm like, oh, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to go to space. And then people were like, you know what? You actually can do it, Jeremy. Just stick to it. And it works out. All right, who haven't I heard from yet? How about there in the, yeah. How fast does a rocket go? Well, it depends where you need the rocket to get to. But if you want to go to the moon, you have to go about getting close to 50,000 kilometers an hour. Yeah, it has to go really fast. Yeah. Okay, let's see. How about right there? How do I think I'll feel when I blast off? I think I'll feel a little bit scared and a lot excited when I blast off. I guess it's probably good to talk about fear a little bit, especially if you guys, so many of you are going to go to space. So do you think astronauts get scared? Yeah, of course we do, because we're human. We get scared just like everybody else. And so what you have to learn as an astronaut is how to set your fear aside. So you're like, ooh, I feel scared right now. And then you sort of got to just acknowledge that you feel scared, but then say, okay, why am I scared? And what do I need to do to be not scared? And you start to work on solving the problem. So fear is good because it gets your attention. It alerts you to something that's happening. But then it's important to work with your friends to solve the problem and help each other be not scared. All right. I don't think I heard from you yet, did I? Go ahead. How do you cook in space? Well, we don't have a kitchen. So I was talking about the food packages earlier where we add water. So really the only thing we have is water to add to our food. And then we have something called a food warmer, which is sort of like a small suitcase that just gets warm inside. It's not like an oven, but it gets warm enough that if you put your food in there and you leave it for about 20 minutes, it'll warm up and then you can eat it. Yeah, how about all the way there with the gray? Yeah. How do you drink water? Out of a bag. So if you think of like a drink box or a drink bag, you've probably had one before. We have bags like that, and then we have this water dispenser, the same water dispenser that fills up our food bags. We just fill up a bag of water, and it has a straw, and then we just put the straw in our mouth and squeeze the bag and drink the water out. Did I hear from you yet? Yeah. Oh, how large is the rocket? Well, like the whole rocket is over 100 meters tall. It's quite big, but the capsule that we're going to be in is sort of like a camper van or like a big minivan inside. It's not very big, and there's 4 of us in there, and we're going to be in there for 10 days. So imagine we kind of like took this area here, and me and 3 others of you got in here in this little space, and we get out next week. How about like next Saturday? So that's what it's going to be like for us. Be a long time. Okay. Oh, how do you breathe in space? Well, it's the same as we're breathing right now. When we're in the capsule, it feels the same. You just breathe the air in and it goes out. We have pressure in the capsule that allows us to breathe. But if you need to go out on a spacewalk, you have to put on your spacesuit, and then you have air pressure in your spacesuit. A spacesuit is like a balloon, basically. It holds the air inside for us to breathe, and then you can go out and do a spacewalk. So in the future, when we land on the moon, we're going to have special suits for the astronauts, and then you get inside your spacesuit, you keep your air pressure inside, and you can go out and explore the moon where there's no air.
So time flies, Jeremy. We'll have time for one last question from Ottawa, one last question from the audience. So the question from the students in Ottawa is, what is the plan if something goes wrong during your mission?
So what if something goes wrong in the mission? The plan is we will work with our experts on the ground. So we're very trained on how to handle the situations in space, but we also have this great team on the ground in mission control, and we will call them and we'll lean on them, and they'll give us advice on how to fix the problem, and we'll work together to make sure we get back safely. And we practice that all the time. So we have this really cool simulator in Houston, Texas, and we practice that with the ground control team and with us and with all of these scenarios, and we work really hard day after day to make sure we're ready for a problem. All right, this is going to be really tough. All right. Why do I love space so much? I don't really know, but I just think it's super cool. There's something inside of me that says this is good. And I've kind of been explaining this to you, but what I have learned and what I kind of live every day is I see a lot of other people who like solving problems, creating solutions. And space pushes us to solve really tough problems. And you know what? The toughest problems often need a lot of different people to work on them to get solved. And I think space does that for us. So I want to leave you with one thing. If you remember anything from today, it is I want you to set goals for yourself. I want you to know where you want to go. And then I need you to do the most important part. You need to share it with other people. It doesn't have to be a career goal. It could just be a short-term goal. But every time you set a goal, I want you to tell other people, and they are going to help you to achieve it. I wish you all the very best. It's great to be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy, for making this space alive for all of us and for those watching on the screen. I'm sure there are many students here who are now very sure of their career path. Thank you, Jasmine, for that wonderful reading of the Explorers Club to the Moon. You have really zoomed the kids to the space and brought them back safely. Thank you. A big thank you to the students and teachers here and in Ottawa. And also thanks to the staff from Canadian Space Agency for making all this possible. A big round of applause to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think, Jeremy, if you want to come back one last time, I think that the students have something very special for you.
We feel very lucky to get this opportunity. We will be watching the news in 2026. We wish you the best of luck on your mission.
Wow, I love this. This is so great. Will you help me open it a little bit so we can show people?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, look at that. What a great send-off. Thank you so much. All right, I will be thinking of all of you when I launch on the rocket next year. Thank you, everyone. And it lights up. That's pretty neat.
Oh, thanks. You too. That was really good.